Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, good afternoon, everyone. With a sense of refreshed 2025 energy, bringing the heat, bringing the juice, bringing the love today. So if you see me sweat right here, it's because the love is coming through. So Jeffrey Combs, 68 years young, and I've been at this profession for going on 27 plus years. So I ain't no novice. So good to have you here on a Tuesday, what used to be the More Heart Than Talent Mindset Call, now the GMS Podcast. So if you're watching this on replay, it is my absolute privilege and pleasure to be here with you. And Mr. Josh Waxman, a lot of emphasis on the Mr. because you've earned it, Mr. Josh Waxman, a lot of respect. Look at that, Josh. I won't show the number there, but right there, my brother, that is Mr. G. Edward Griffin, and that is for you, my brother Josh, because I'm reaching out to G. Edward until I get a hold of him. You and I we have a date with destiny with Mr. Griffin, and I'm going to do my best to facilitate that. Josh was speaking about you today. For those of you who do not know Josh Waxman, top-tier professional entrepreneur and 11-year client. Josh is one of the top tenured clients. Josh is one of the top 5 longest clients I've ever coached. Dorothy Wirt holds that distinction of being the longest client I ever coached. Tom Nash is also right up there with him. And Josh, tenured client, has been my client for 11 years. I have a few clients who have coached with me over 15 years. So a few, like 2 or 3, but Josh is in the top 5. So if you're in Josh's team, gratitude for being here. Thank all of you for devoting your time to being here with me this afternoon. And I have a long history on this podcast, which originally started out as a afternoon mindset call. It was a women's workshop back in 1999 at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. In the year 2000, I moved it to 7:30 Pacific, and then they called it the More Heart Than Talent Mindset Call as I built out that brand. Josh, I will tell you this, Mr. Mark Victor Hansen reached out to me, and he would definitely be available for Millionaire Blueprint if I invited him. And Robert Butwin, legendary Robert Butwin, who wrote the book in 1994, Street Smart Networking, will be coming to my event in Millionaire Blueprint in July. So if you're considering that event, I am lining up the people. Cara DeChico Sandre has informed me that she would like to attend. People are reaching out to me, asking me if they can come. So if you're on the bubble of that event, get a ticket. Josh Waxman can assist you with those tickets. So here, all right, pony up here. Cowgirl, Alexis Toledo, and all of you former athletes who have the juice and have the edge. So Mr. Jeffrey Combs is here to deliver the gold, the goods, and is going to break it down for you when it comes to this right here, the psychology of asking. I produced this in 1998. If you're my coaching client, you have that audio in your back office, and you definitely want to be listening to this. This was produced in 2005. This is called The Psychology of Closing. My signature product was called The Psychology of Prospecting. And then Todd Falcone, good old Todd Falcone right there. Todd Falcone was a featured speaker on this CD set right here called Prospecting with Purpose. And that was a collaboration collection of speakers that I put together back in 2003. I've been producing the content since 1998. My first audio cassette, that was correct, was called Power Prospecting and Sorting for Professionals. Now, the last 15 years of my career, a lot more of my content has been directed toward letting go, toward being able to raise your level of consciousness. But underneath the surface of all that, Jeffrey Combs is a closer. And I'll spell it for you, C-L-O-S-E-R, closer. And I'll spell it the second way, M-O-N-E-Y. So I know how to close for the money. And you want to learn that also. And people that say it's not about the money, well, then they're not making any, because it still is about the money. It is about the service and the value, but you're not in business for charity. You're in business because you're in free enterprise, and you require to create what the free market will bear. So if you live in South Beach, Beverly Hills, West Los Angeles, if you live in Telluride, if you live in Aspen, if you live in Barrington, Illinois, which is one of the top zip codes in Illinois, if you live in the Country Club Plaza, Overland Park, Kansas, which is where I am from, or if you live in any of the area codes and zip codes that have a lot of prosperity and a lot of property value, then it's going to be your responsibility to be able to create the commerce, the traffic, so you can operate in free enterprise. Kathy Lofgren, good to see you this afternoon. Kathy Lofgren is a serial entrepreneur from Canada, and I have coached many Canadians throughout my career. So good to be here with you. And some of you were my coaching client when my hair was brown. As you see now, my hair is silver. So that shows you that this ain't my first rodeo, and I've been in this process for 37 years. So when I became clean and sober, I started my first network marketing business, the Big A, Amway, and crossed the bridge in the Big H, Herbalife. And Herbalife was my first business that I started to make $10,000 a month in a breakaway pay plan back in the day. And what kept me in business consistently was my ability to prospect. So prospecting is a skill. It's a mindset. It's a habit. It is a routine. And just like for gold, what you're prospecting for, or you are prospecting for prosperity partners. You are looking for people who are looking to purchase your product, services, benefits, and feature, and it is an absolute skill set. So prospecting is the equivalent of being able to hit in baseball or softball an off-speed pitch. In basketball, prospecting and closing is a crossover dribble. It's a behind-the-back dribble. It's a between-the-legs dribble. It's throwing a pass down court behind your back. It's the equivalent of a tomahawk dunk if you're 6 foot tall. I mean, it is a real niche. It's a 42-inch vertical jump when you're 6 foot tall, like Cooper DeJean. So prospecting is an absolute, and it's called poetry, Poetry. The reason most of you will have challenges prospecting because you live solely in your left brain. Let me explain this to you. This right here is the prefrontal cortex. This is the hippocampus of your brain. Right back there is the amygdala, and right there is the pineal gland. There is your limbic brain. You prospect from right back there. That's where you prospect from. But if you're an analyzer, a thinker, a processor, if you check out, if you have to know all the answers, if you have been traumatized, and the 3 ways that you're going to be an emotional addict is 3 different levels of trauma: physical abuse, emotional abuse, and sexual abuse, because that abuse, that trauma is what creates fight or flight. And if you live in fight or flight in a short breath cycle and you're not breathing 30 or 40, 50 times a day, then you're holding your breath, waiting for someone to violate you, waiting for someone to reject you, waiting for someone to abandon you. If you're learning the skill sets from myself, Josh Waxman, or anyone who's a leader grower in direct sales, network marketing, insurance, real estate, and if you have a mentor or a leader or an owner who can teach these skills to you, these are valuable assets, because very few people understand the inner game of prospecting. There's only one other coach that I've ever seen who teaches like I do. That is Todd Falcone. I shared the stage with him at least 20 times throughout my career. He is a skilled prospector. Like me, he learned in the early 90s. Todd he was in Equinox days in the Bill Gould era. And I was in the Herbalife days back in the era. And so that was the water filter. That was the old school water filter era, NSA in Equinox, of network marketing and direct sales. And if you're not a skilled prospector, you will not make it in this industry of direct sales. Prospecting is a niche, it's a skill, and the way that you become good at it, number one, is repetition and experience, which means that you can't become skilled at prospecting by avoiding the process. You become skilled at prospecting by this right here, being able to take both your left brain and your right brain and your vagus nerve and your gut and merge them together so that you are focused. But if you're a thinker and analyzer, and if your motor skills are not fast enough to move the conversation along, you will have challenges creating the commerce. So if you're a thinker, it's going to definitely hinder you. So that means you have to be able to let go of your processing, thinking, and analyzing, and most importantly, trying to make sense. If you coach with me and you ask me if that makes sense, I will say it does not, and I will tell you that I understand. So the content of making sense is also spelled C-E-N-T-S. So S-E-N-S-E or C-E-N-T-S. One is pennies, the other one is the analytical egoic mind. In consciousness, if you're going to consciously prospect, You're going to consciously prospect by understanding, by knowing, for have a love of prospecting. Prospecting is bliss to you. Prospecting is fun. Prospecting is poetry. Prospecting is chess. Prospecting is the inner game of life. Because when you are skilled at prospecting, you hear people pathologically lie to you. They will tell you what they think you want to hear. They will tell you they're going to talk to their homie, their husband, their brother, their significant other. And I've used this one so many times back in the day. The blow-up doll in the closet, the fireman, the dog catcher, someone down the street, equally as broke as they are. So that means that they will give you 5 main objections. The number one main objection that you will receive in any selling experience is number one is money. When I do 20-minute coaching sessions, the number one objection I receive is money, and many people don't have it. My price points are $3,000 and $5,000. Some people don't have the credit, they don't have the resources, they don't have the money, but that doesn't mean they can't hire me, because if they have the desire, they will find it within 24 hours. I know that is true because I have seen people do it, and I myself am resourceful enough to come up with any amount of money required if the value is great enough. See, when someone asks you what does it cost, you want to tell them nothing, because our conversation is over. And not necessarily, but when someone asks you the cost before the value proposition, that is not a qualified prospect. That is someone who is kicking the tire. That's called a looky-loo, a rubbernecker, and a broke dick. So you're going to encounter some of these people who aren't really qualified buyers. A qualified buyer seeks the value, and they are value conscious, not cost conscious. People that are cost conscious will go into their story, they'll get overwhelmed, and they'll go into a drunkalogue when they're giving you an objection. So here's the 5 main objections. Number 1 is money. Number 2, they're going to think about it. Number 3, they're going to ask someone else. Number 4, they're going to do the research, and there is about 15 to 20% of society that buys logically. They do not buy emotionally. That means that 80% of the people that you are communicating with at the sales table, at the closing table. See, the closing table is where a closer closes. And at the closing table, anxious people pose. They pose like a closer, but they are too anxious to be able to ask for the commitment. And if you're not able to ask for the commitment, that relegates you to LDS, lay down sales. And a lay down sale is someone who mails it into you. They say, "Oh, I'm ready to buy." And you will encounter that through a word called luck. But if you're going to be good, luck doesn't count in this game. And there will be people, and synchronicity becomes a major component of this skill set, because you will attract your reality quality, like-minded, organic, holistic, natural connections by the person you become. The best woman I ever recruited in my career, I met her at a health club. She became a $500,000 a year income earner in her second year in my team, and she attracted a 7-figure income earner. So I would do live prospecting, live dials for my team back in the day, and I was one of the few people in the history of that industry that ever did that. I've held prospecting clinics. I attempted to build a prospecting clinic about 20 years ago. And so I was hosting prospecting clinics in Stockton, California. And so I would create leads for the people. I had voice over IP phones at the Stockton Hilton in Stockton, California. And what I would find, I'd have this prospecting clinic for $5,000 for 15 people. And the people that would come, no one would pick up the phone. They would want me to do all the phone calls. So they wanted to watch me produce. So I did, and I would close sales for them, and eventually some of the ice would be broken by some of the people, and this means that there's a tremendous amount of anxiety about the outcome when it comes to prospecting. You cannot prospect by being in your head. You cannot prospect by being loud and obnoxious. You cannot prospect from ego. You can prospect effectively by being in a relaxed present. You have to be as cool as the other side of the pillow. It's jam because jelly don't shake like that. That's Stuart Scott from ESPN. And you will prospect as a very skilled prospector because you have ice in your veins. You have to be able to have a toothpick in your mouth and be as cool as the other side of the pillow to be a skilled prospector. Prospectors do not get rattled. Prospectors do not become attached to prospects. Skilled prospectors are not desperate. If you're a skilled prospector, you're not desperate. It's the same in dating. If you're desperate in dating, you'll attract every broke dick, narcissist, perpetrator, violator to your reality to fulfill your low self-esteem. The same will happen in prospecting. If you're desperate for a sale, if you have commission breath, if you are desperate for money, if you're telegraphing your broke thoughts, if you're telegraphing that this could be it, chief, that this is it's all or nothing today. If you come across like that, then you will attract the most broken souls who will pathologically lie to you, and then you will wonder why no one buys from you. These are the main reasons no one buys from you, because you are telegraphing your anxiety before you start. People don't buy from you because you're desperate. People don't buy from you because you're egocentric, self-centered. People don't buy from you because you are not relaxed. And when you start to let go of some of these anxieties, you will start to understand that sales is the highest paid profession in the world. You can achieve 8 figures in this industry in sales. Josh and I both know a man who owns an insurance company. Now, Josh actually was in that company. I knew the man when he started that company, and he started with a small group of Spanish and Filipino culture in Los Angeles, California in 2009. I spoke at 2 of his events early in his career. He's an Iranian refugee. You'll probably be able to figure out who he is. He was an Iranian refugee, has an amazing story. And he came out of a direct sales insurance company called WFG and had the courage to do exactly what Josh is doing, started his own IMO, and then fast forward 15 years later, he sold that. I'm not sure what the details are, but I know that it was very, very large. The sale of that company was well over 100 million. So that could be you, because he started out where you did. He was a refugee and came to our country. It's not one of these stories of someone coming from another country, coming to the land of the free and doing something with the opportunity. I'm going to ask you today, you, Y-O-U, are you taking advantage of what's right here in front of you? Because opportunities are never lost. They are seized by the law of the few. Only a few people have the courage, the intestinal fortitude, the guts, the vigor, the resiliency to be able to take advantage of it. Here's what's happened to me in my enterprises. So my first 8 years, culmination of direct sales, network marketing, 8 years of toiling laboriously in the midnight hour. I had an office in Dallas, Texas twice. I had an office in Reston, Virginia once. I had an office in Pleasanton, California one time. I haven't even told you all this, Josh, but I've had offices throughout the United States, and I would be prospecting. I would be in there at 8 o'clock, and I'd be in there at 9 o'clock. Invariably, my team would trickle in around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, or 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock for a 1 o'clock briefing. I used to do a 1 o'clock briefing and a 7 o'clock briefing. A briefing back then was a PBR, private business reception. And I would go in there, and from the Dallas Morning News, from the San Francisco Chronicle, from the San Jose Mercury, from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, from the Washington, D.C. Post, I would be running newspaper ads into sales, employment, and in the business opportunity, and I would be bringing people in to showcase them the opportunity, and I would do a 30-minute presentation. And I could speed through that baby in 30 minutes. And I'd even take a 5-minute break. So I'd do a 15-minute presentation, a 5-minute break, and then a 15-minute close. It'd take me 35 minutes, and then I would let everyone in that room leave except the people that I wanted to sit down and speak to one-on-one or 3-on-1 or 4-on-1. And oftentimes I would close the room sales for them because I'm a closer. Closers close because they're closers. Posers pose because they're scared. They're in anxiety, fear, and doubt. So it's your responsibility, your ability to respond, to determine, do I have the intestinal fortitude to close? Now, I had a breakthrough with one of my clients today. She was, oh my God, I'm just realizing that I am so anxious about actually succeeding because I would have to be responsible. So I'm going to break this down for you. One of the number one reasons that people do not succeed is because they create a situation over and over. There's a neurochemical loop that happens. And in that loop that happens, people they go through the process, they go through the motions of prospecting, but they're not really in the prospect energy. And so what they do, because they have so much anxiety about succeeding, because they might have to be responsible. And so many people avoid succeeding because they have so much anxiety about being responsible that they continue to recreate the same situation, and they're afraid of failing and succeeding. And so they straddle the boat between success and failure. They live in a place called doubt, going through the motions, eventually going out of business to fulfill the neurochemical craving of being disappointed, called the payoff. And when you let this go, the anxiety about the outcome, when you let go of being attached to the outcome, when you focus solely on that moment, when you focus on listening, number one, so you can hear what's meant, when you're able to fact find, rapport build, and small talk, when you're able to ask questions in 5 to 15 words, you ask a question in 5 to 15 words, then end with a question. You become so skilled at listening when you say to the prospect, that's not the question I ask you. When you say to the prospect, it's a yes or a no question. That means that you are actually crossed the bridge. Welcome aboard, Chief. It means you now understand what it means, what it means as the vacuum law of prosperity. The vacuum law of prosperity means you have to step into the vacuum of where the money is. And until you step into that vacuum, you're going to stand on the outside of it. It's the same thing in dating. It's the vacuum law of dating. Until you actually step into dating, matchmaking, or any other situation where you're attempting to attract your reality, that teammate, that soulmate, that significant other, that person that you're looking for, until you really understand the inner game of business, the inner game of life, higher consciousness, the content that Dr. Joe Dispenza and I cover. So if you're a thinker, a processor, an analyzer, then you want recognition, you want rewards, you want instant gratification. You're not in it to really be successful. You're in it for recognition. You're in it because your low self-esteem is so low that you want to be recognized. You want the medal. You want the watch. You want to walk the stage. You're not really in it because for long term, you're in it short term. It's called a paycheck player. Paycheck player. Long-term players, they don't get excited over closing a sale. Long-term players, like me, I never get excited when I have a major money month, because to me, it's all relative. Because when it's relative, you're a professional. When you're an amateur, and that's what many people are, you can actually be a skilled amateur and have a big month here and there or whatever, or you can attract that shiny object to you. But when you're as cool as the other side of the pillow, your cage does not get rattled because you're not in a cage. You're off. You're not on that chessboard. You're not on the Freemason black and white chessboard. You're outside of that because you're not in that matrix. You're not in trauma-based mind control. You're not seduced by pagan rituals. You're right there in the moment, in the present, laying them down. I like to put them up and lay them down. And when you're like that, you have no attachment. It's like, bring it on, Chief. And I would use the MF word if it was in a more similar, more relaxed environment, because I have that Jersey talk. I'm from Missouri and Iowa. I've been accused of being from Jersey my entire life. Yo, dude, are you from Jersey? Sort of. But so it's the edge. That's the razor's edge, baby. You better find that edge in this game or it ain't going to happen. And so this is the NFL, not for long, and that's what happens to a lot of paycheck players. And coffee is for closers. If you've ever seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross, that's what that means. And so when you're prospecting just like this, like, bring it on, Chief, you have to have that attitude. And when you're skilled, you've heard every excuse known to mankind, and you just cut people off, and you can just flex that muscle and go, adios, Chief, I'm going to let you go. And closers don't follow up with people who don't require it. The fortune is not in the follow-up. The fortune is in closing the sale. The fortune is in the culture you build through the skill set that you create by being a man or a woman of integrity. ABC, always be connecting. ABC, always be closing. ABC, always be connecting. I mean, that's the skill. ABC. A, always. B, B, C, closing. A, B, C. That's what it means. Always be closing. So some movies you should watch: The Boiler Room, Glengarry Glen Ross, The Music Man. These are some of the movies that I have watched. And Tommy Boy. Tommy Boy has some of the most funniest anecdotes of someone who absolutely is the worst salesperson in the history of selling. My name is Jeffery Combs. I am the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated, breaking out the powder blue today with the gold. So if you're on my Facebook Live this afternoon and you have any aspirations or any ideals of wanting to coach with me, then go right up there. This is a call to action, and send me a Facebook message, or go to my website and fill out a 20-minute survey. Let go of your broke thoughts, poverty consciousness. Breathe, release, and let go. And stop waiting for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. And this is what you're going to find. A lot of your prospects are going to tell you, let me check my finances and I'll get back to you. You got to say, well, you can do that in about 5 minutes. Well, let me talk to my wife. You mean the blow up doll in the closet? I mean, what? I mean, they just lie to you. You have to understand this is what they do, because they're so uncomfortable with this whole process that they're in so much fight or flight. You have to be able to neutralize these people. I mean, I have closed thousands of sales by addressing objections. I've also let hundreds of thousands of people go because they do not qualify for my time, my energy. And that's not from arrogance, that's all from service and value. And there are some real rock star closers on here right now. I feel you. So there's some exceptional young men and women in this culture today. So I'm going to be bringing you this year the HEAT, the heat, the love, the joy. I'm going to be bringing it to you. So the man you're seeing right here today, I found myself about 2 weeks ago, and I'm saying, fuck it, dude. I'm going to go back to what brought me to the table. So I'm still going to teach letting go skills, but I'm going to bring the heat. See that sweat? That's REAL. That's as good as it gets, baby. This is some Iowa, Missouri love. So you go out there and you close, and you get off your ass this afternoon, and you take it to the next level. When you find that grind in your teeth, and if you close a few sales this week, send me a message. This is close week. This is the end of the era. This is the end of this week, baby. Right here, right now. Close in February in a relaxed energy. BRINGITON. Bring it on. Jeffrey Combs. Breathe, release, and let go. Have a great afternoon. Good to see everyone.